I am absolutely losing it here, people. This is so messed up. My wife, Bridget, has an identical twin sister named Sandra. They have always been really close. I thought it was a twin thing. I had a couple of friends who were twins, and they were close too. I figured it was even more natural for them to be close, since they were identical twins. To give some background, I met my wife 2 years ago. I work as a bartender at a place my uncle owns. She came in one night, and we just hit it off instantly. She actually asked me out. The romance was a whirlwind, and we got married after just 8 months. We didn't even have a real wedding, just a courthouse ceremony. She moved in with me because I have a two-bedroom house I was renting from another uncle, and she was still living at home with her parents. I met her sister right away, and we've always gotten along. The only thing I found odd was how similar Bridget and Sandra were. Honestly, the only difference is that Bridget is a bit more thoughtful with what she says, and Sandra is a bit more sassy and outspoken. Otherwise, they are almost the same person. They look identical, obviously, and even go to the same hairstylist to get the exact same cut and color on the same day. They've been doing this their whole lives. They work out together, shop together, and do almost everything together. They share the same tastes in movies, music, and other things. They even have the same taste in men. Sandra was in a year-long relationship that has since ended. I met the guy a few times, and it was strange. He could have been my brother. We even had the same sense of humor. I liked the guy, but I wasn't too upset when Sandra and he broke up, because it felt a bit uncanny. Anyway, this is where things get twisted. About a month ago, we had a small house party at our place, just friends, and of course Sandra was there. I had a bit too much to drink that night and was pretty tipsy. Bridget was too. As the night wound down, the drinks caught up with me, and I told Bridget I was going to lay down. She mentioned Sandra was going to stay over, which wasn't unusual, especially if they'd both been drinking. I figured they'd just crash on the couch or something. I just laid down when Bridget came in. She didn't turn on any lights. She just got into bed with me. I asked, "Changed your mind on the movie?" She just said, "Yeah," and climbed into bed. I noticed she'd stripped down, and we ended up being intimate. Afterwards, I fell asleep pretty quickly. I woke up around 5 because I had to use the bathroom. When I got back to bed, she initiated things again, which was unusual but not unwelcome. I should note that we don't use condoms because Bridget is on the pill, but she was insistent that I finish, which was unusual for us. I passed out again after that and woke up around 10, mildly hungover, but not too bad. Bridget was already up, and Sandra had gone home. We had a pretty normal day. Bridget came on to me again later, and for about a week, things were like this. We have a healthy relationship, but 3 times in one day was a bit out of the ordinary. I just figured she was feeling extra affectionate. This leads me to what happened earlier today. Sandra called me and asked if I could come over and help her with something. She and one of their good friends from high school just got an apartment together. She said she needed help hanging shelves. When I got there, she admitted she'd lied. Sandra then pulls out a pregnancy test and hands it to me. It's positive. I was a bit confused and said, "Congrats. Have you told Bridget yet?" Thinking she wanted me to help break the news. She said, "No, I needed to tell you first." I looked at her and said, "Why would you need to tell me first?" She looked at me and said, "Because you're the father from that night at the party." My chest started pounding. I stared at her for a minute and said, "What? What are you talking about?" She said, "What do you mean? We were together twice at that party." I exploded. I thought that was Bridget. "Why would you do this?" She got defensive and said, "You were giving me the eyes all night. I wasn't tired and thought you weren't either. I came in, and one thing led to another. You didn't seem to mind." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I just said, "I'm out of here. I want a paternity test, and I'm telling Bridget what you did. You've messed up everything." I stormed out of her apartment and headed straight home. I got home, upset and ready to tell Bridget everything, but then she met me with some news of her own. She said she had something exciting to tell me, and for a moment I froze. I didn't want to ruin her excitement with my own news. I said, "Go ahead, what's up?" She looked at me, smiling, and handed me a positive pregnancy test. She said, "You're going to be a daddy." I totally chickened out and didn't tell her about Sandra. I did my best to look excited. I am happy about this, but Sandra has complicated things. I plan to tell Bridget everything tomorrow. I just want her to have this day. After that, I'm not sure what I'll do. The past 2 days have been incredibly difficult. Yesterday, I told Bridget what Sandra did. She seemed upset, but not as much as I expected. She immediately called Sandra. I tried to be supportive and followed her, but she asked for some space and went into our bedroom, locking the door. After about 40 minutes, she came out and told me she forgave me. Forgave me? I was completely stunned. What do you mean you forgive me? She tricked me into being with her by pretending to be you. It wasn't consensual. Bridget looked at me with a disgusted expression and said, I can't believe you used that word. You weren't assaulted. Sandra told me what happened, and I remember you were flirting with her most of the night, so it's not entirely her fault. You were involved too. I was absolutely furious at that point. I was not flirting with her. I feel like I'm losing my mind. What's wrong with you? How can you be okay with her doing this? Bridget replied, I'm a little hurt, but she apologized to me. She's my sister. I may have shared too much with her during our talks, and she got the wrong idea. I want to forgive you both and move on. I don't think holding on to this is good for anyone. You're about to be a father for both of us, and we'll need you to be there. I told her, I'm not the father of Sandra's child. This is crazy. I can't believe you're taking her side. I won't be involved in this. I can't just forgive and forget. I won't let it go. She got upset, and we had a huge argument until she said she felt unwell and needed a break. She even suggested I might be causing her stress that could harm the pregnancy. We spent the rest of the day not speaking. This morning, everything felt even heavier. I can't believe what's happened, and I'm not okay with how I was used. Bridget's attitude, acting like this is partly my fault, has me considering a separation. I decided to file a police report and press charges this morning. That turned out to be just as frustrating. As I explained the situation to the officer, I could tell he wasn't taking me seriously. He even made comments implying I should be grateful and that the case wouldn't hold up. He told me someone else would be in touch soon to follow up. When I got back home, Sandra was there, and the two of them tried to talk to me about planning for the babies. I just shook my head, turned around, and left. I can't believe Bridget is okay with Sandra being there. Now, I'm at my uncle's bar and grill, where my shift starts soon. I really hope they don't try to confront me here at work. I think this is it for me. I need to figure out how to separate from Bridget. I can't believe any of this is happening. I used my small savings to stay at a motel for 2 days. During that time, my wife was constantly trying to contact me. She left a lot of voicemails and sent numerous texts, mostly asking me to reach out. She kept saying she was worried and wanted me to come home. The only thing I responded with was a request for her not to come to my work. I told her I needed time and that this situation was seriously messed up. On the morning of the 3rd day, I got a call from a detective. They had followed up with Sandra and my wife, Bridget. The detective informed me they wouldn't be pursuing charges. He explained that both Sandra and Bridget had stated it was planned and consensual and that I was likely just overreacting because they were both pregnant. He tried to show a little sympathy, saying, if nothing else, you can at least divorce and move on. Their stories matched a bit too perfectly, but this is a he said, she said situation, and unfortunately, their statements are aligned against yours. I'd finally had enough, so I went home to confront Bridget. I needed to understand why she'd side with her sister and lie. When I got there, Sandra was there too. I'm not proud to say I immediately snapped. What is wrong with you two? You're lying to the police? You both know what happened that night. Bridget tried to calm me down right away, saying, babe, stop. Just come sit. I wasn't about to calm down. No, I want her gone, and I want her gone now. Bridget replied, she's not going anywhere. This is what we wanted. I just froze, standing there stunned. I had to process what she just said. After a long pause, I finally managed. You wanted this to happen. Why would you want this? Bridget led me over to the couch. I hadn't noticed, but Sandra had quietly left the room. Bridget took my hand and looked me in the eyes. We've always wanted to have children at the same time, for them to be the same age. We've been talking about this for months. The party was just the chance we needed to make it happen. I replied, you set me up. You're just as bad as she is. Bridget said, I love my sister. We do everything together. Having me means having her and vice versa. That will never change. I love you, but you will always come after her. Exhausted, I said, fine, you can have each other. I want a divorce. Sandra returned at that moment. Don't be like that, she said. I shot her a look. Be quiet, I said harshly. Bridget tried to calm me, saying, no, listen, we want to make this work. There is no we, I yelled. Bridget finally lost her patience. Just stop. You're angry, and you're only going to be more upset when you're paying double child support. Forget this, and forget you both. I'm out of here. I stormed out and drove straight to a divorce attorney. That consultation was an eye-opener. After explaining everything, the attorney looked at me and said, I don't think you come out ahead on this. You guys don't have any assets, so the divorce itself is straightforward. Probably about $3,500 if it goes smoothly, but the real issue is afterward. Based on what you said, these two could spin things any way they like. If their statements to the police hold up, you're likely looking at child support for both kids. Even if we take it to court, I don't see a judge siding with you. Those statements from the police don't help. I left the office feeling defeated. I realized I'd need more money and likely a better attorney. I decided to reach out to my uncles to see if they could help. I spoke with both of them over the past few days, but they weren't much help. They just joked about it and told me to deal with it. When I told one of them that Sandra had taken advantage of me, he dismissed it, saying, come on, every guy I know would love to say they were with twins. Having exhausted all options, my last hope was to call my dad. I was hoping he'd finally step up and be there for me. I hadn't felt that from him since my mom passed away 10 years ago, but I was hoping for some support this time. Once again, I was disappointed. With my head down, I went back home. Bridget and Sandra were both there. I told them I'd listened to their so-called grand plan. They explained that Sandra would move into our 2-bedroom house and the 3 of us would live together. They talked about how, with 3 incomes, we'd soon be able to afford a bigger place. They even listed the benefits for me. 3 parents means more time off, no child support, no custody issues, just a loving home. As they went on, their pitch devolved into planning baby supplies and decorating. Right now, I'm still staying at the house with Bridget, while Sandra's at her place for now. I know they put me in a tough spot. I'm wavering between filing for divorce now and taking the mess that comes with it or waiting it out a bit longer until I can make a cleaner break. I know I need to get away from these two. It's just a matter of timing. I might have to stick it out for a little while, but I'm determined to find a way out eventually.